If I told you that Helldivers 2 was just another Twitter and TikTok fad that may die out in 2 weeks, you'd probably be inclined to believe me. Well, I think this one might be different. But why exactly is this $40 live service indie game slam dunking these $60 AAA live service shitters? Well, the game is just really fucking fun. If you spend any amount of time doom scrolling on whatever social media apps you frequent, you've probably seen a few clips or memes from this video game. It was probably a clip of someone playing a soldier-like character fighting for the American dream of freedom and democracy. Most likely bombing themselves with comically large nukes and explosions to take out hordes of enemies and go out in the line of fire to save their fellow soldiers. And you know what? Yeah, I did it. Word of mouth marketing gripped me by the fucking gonads, and I drank the Kool-Aid. I had to try this game. So if you're confused as to what this game is, much like I was, don't worry, I got you. Honestly, you probably couldn't even play the goddamn thing because of the intense server overload that I'm sure developer Arrowhead Game Studios didn't account for. This game is published by PlayStation and even made its way onto PC somehow, but otherwise, this studio has legitimately made only 5 games, one of which being the original Helldivers, which was a pretty big departure from its much beefier son. Immediately upon booting the game up and getting in after about 3.5 fucking hours of looking at this cool splash screen, I got hints of Earth's Defense Force and a little bit of Star Wars Battlefront. The game has no PvP, or rather no purposeful PvP. Yeah, it's a completely cooperative experience not only between you and your fellow soldiers you queue up with, but the entire player base of the game itself. I like this a lot. It kind of brings the players together and allows for a larger sense of community rather than pitting players against each other in a constant state of toxicity. After each mission you complete, you can see the progress of liberation you've made on whatever sector you played in. Not to mention, unless you are fucking good at the game, you really can't play missions solo on a difficulty past challenging, which kind of forces you to play the game with friends or respond to random SOS beacons scattered among each sector. But how is the gameplay? So the gameplay loop is pretty consistent. You boot up, pick a sector, right now between automatons and terminids, and drop into a mission akin to dropping off the fucking battle bus into a procedurally generated active war zone. You'll have a main objective that could also include several sub-objectives like destroying fuel and ammunition reserve camps, destroying bug nests, or escorting people to safety. To pair with these main objectives, you'll also have several optional side objectives like destroying random camps, nests, or beacons. It may sound pretty easy to complete these side missions, but not only are your missions timed, it is also incredibly easy to get yourself cornered, slowing or even halting progress completely. You'll get a lot of options for builds. There's a pretty wide array of weapons and armor to help you not only personalize your soldier, but also give you and your fellow brothers in arms extra strategies to fully capitalize on the mission itself. You can go even further with the weapons too. You can do many different things to them, like changing the fire rate, reticle size, and flashlights. To go along with the armor and weapons you get, you are also allowed 4 stratagems that you can call in each mission. These can be anything from sentries to strong weapons to literal fucking nukes. These stratagems act on a cooldown system or have a finite number of uses, but are pretty essential for getting you through each tour you do. They're kind of an interesting risk versus reward situation, simply because to use one, you have to perform a Mortal Kombat fatality. Go along with these, you can each use one booster that has a different passive ability, like dropping in with full ammo reserves or preventing the risk of injuries. You can also upgrade your ship by finding random collectibles on the map to give yourself extra passive abilities. I called my ship the Hammer of Dawn because, well, obviously. And these take quite a while to unlock, which makes sense because many of these upgrades can give you a large advantage in missions. Speaking of unlocking, there's a pretty interesting progression system that the game implements. Hope y'all like fucking battle passes because that's how it works. Honestly though, I kinda like this battle pass. It is free with an extra paid battle pass that is completely optional. You can even unlock the paid battle pass by normally progressing through the game. Each mission you unlock a certain amount of medals to use on the battle pass, and then several requisition slips that you can use on additional stratagems. Normally, battle passes are kind of scummy just because they encourage the use of microtransactions for items that typically don't even give you an advantage in the game itself, but this pass is much more consumer friendly. While they have been actively patching and fixing issues with the game since it launched, there are still a bunch of nagging issues with the game. The server issues when the game launched were a pretty major issue, but as of the time of recording, they have been resolved. I won't count this against the game though. This is honestly the best problem to have for a a developer, but I can't say that 15 plus hours of looking at this fucking screen was a good time. As far as gameplay issues I have, there are quite a few random bugs and glitches that irritate me, like the glitch where other Helldivers won't reinforce despite throwing beacons, or the sometimes sheer impossibility of just joining a friend's ship. There are also the escort missions that on higher difficulty are just fucking impossible. Y'all can fucking comment your get goods and whatever, but truly these missions need to be rebalanced. The civilians are super squishy, sometimes get stuck on random geometry, and there are way too many bot drops that very easily make the missions a chaotic disaster. There are a few weapons and stratagems that need to be rebalanced as well, such as the 1,000-pound Eagle airstrike. This should have a much larger radius. Plus, the anti-material rifle should have medium piercing bullets for being a sniper rifle. The nice thing about these issues is they could all be fixed by a developer with a slider and a few patches. Helldivers 2 has swiftly carved out its niche in the gaming world, defying expectations and standing among its AAA counterparts. The game's infectious fun factor, fueled by a cooperative multiplayer experience and a unique gameplay loop, sets it apart from its crowd. The camaraderie forged through shared missions and community-driven progress tracking contribute to a sense of unity, contrasting with the toxic environments often found in competitive games. This is a game well worth its price tag, and one that I may have already put 60 hours into.